I guess I stopped to think that if God had answered one of my prayers in the past, if God had just given me a baby, if I had never lost a baby, if everything was just like it should have been in my mind, how many people would be suffering alone?
Sometimes life's biggest storms give you the most beautiful rainbows. We are Chasing Rainbows.
Hi, welcome to Chasing Rainbows. My name's Christina. If I haven't met you before, I am so glad to have you here at my channel. Here we talk about miscarriage, infertility, and beyond. And given that it is National Infertility Awareness Week, I really felt like God put this on my heart to share a little something I learned recently with you all. So, as you know, infertility, miscarriages, those are all really hard things to walk through. And often I think there's many hard questions that we ask when faced with these hard situations, asking God, like, why, God? Why? Why would you allow me to suffer through this? Where are you in the midst of my infertility? Or where were you when I lost these 3 babies? I love that when I ask him a question like this, that he is always right there to give me a gentle answer in some loving way, that it really just opens my eyes to like this big aha moment. And that's what I want to share with you. So this aha moment came after having quiet time with God and reading through John chapter 11, the story of Lazarus. Now, I've heard this story many times, but I've never really paid attention to like the fine details in it. God asked me to look at the significant parts of this story, like the real key subtle moments that maybe we miss when reading it. And if you don't know the story of Lazarus, Lazarus was the brother of Mary and Martha, and he was really sick. And Mary and Martha sent word to Jesus telling him, like, hey, come back, our brother's sick, like, please come heal him. And Jesus does not come back in the moment, but he later comes and he raises Lazarus from the dead. And this is what I wrote down in my journal as one of those significant parts. I put that it said that Mary and Martha sent word to Jesus about Lazarus being sick and asking for healing, but Jesus stayed. And it says that he stayed after saying, now Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus. I think that is significant because Jesus didn't rush to them, but he also stayed close by. He could have left, he could have moved on. Yes, he could have gone back. And I also wrote that you could have made it before he died, but you waited and allowed him to not only pass away, but be buried. So God pushed me to think a little further, like, what else did this moment do? And I wrote that it helped others believe that you're the Messiah, that you are God, that you don't need to panic and rush to save someone because death has no power over you. You are able to do anything. And that's when God kind of questioned me point blank. Do you believe that? Were the words I just felt stirring in my heart. Do you believe that? And I honestly had a long pause. Not that I think that God isn't capable of doing anything. This was my response. And I had a hard time being honest in writing this. I put, yes, I do. But I struggle with believing that you will choose to do something like that for me. So then God's next question for me was, why do you think I will not do something like this for you? And God, this is totally a weird side story, and bear with me, I do have a point. So I actually had this fish, and while my daughter was at school, I came home and I found the fish belly up in the tank. It was dead, like dead. Went in there, poked it with the net, like trying to like see if it would move. It was dead. And I kind of left it there for a little while, and I was thinking, you know, what am I going to do? Do I go get another fish and do that whole thing where the parent swaps it out and tries to pass it off as the same fish? Or do I dispose of the fish before she comes home and tell her? Or do I wait for her and we have some sort of fish funeral? I wasn't sure what to do. I kind of just ignored it in the moment, and I had a few hours to kind of figure it out. And I felt this weird, strange sense from God to change the fish's water. And I thought I was nuts. I thought I was absolutely nuts. But I decided to actually do it. I was like, I have no idea why I'm doing this, but I'm going to take the fish out and clean the tank, replace the water, and then put the dead fish back in this clean fish tank. Made no sense. So I did this. I put the fish back in. Like, the fish is still dead. Like, it was out of water when I was cleaning this tank. He was dead. Put it back in. Literally then felt like God said, pray for the fish. Pray for the fish to come back to life. I thought, this is nuts. Why am I sitting here? The fish is dead. Like, the fish is dead. Let's just move on. Why are you even cleaning the tank? But I did what he said. I prayed for this fish, and I swear to you, this fish came back to life. Came back to life. I was totally dumbfounded. I was totally in shock. I was totally like, this fish was dead for hours and sat out of water while I cleaned this tank. And then I prayed for it, and it came back to life. Now, in this fish's lifetime, this fish lived longer than some of my other animals. Like, so crazy. But this happened several times. So we changed this fish's name to Lazarus. I tell you this story because God actually brings this moment up to me. That he actually says this to me. One, that he appreciated my honesty for confessing that I believe, yes, he can do miracles, but I don't actually believe that he'll choose to do it for me. And so he questioned me then. Why do you think I would not do something like this for you? When I have before, I raised your fish from the dead 2 or 3 times. In fact, you named him Lazarus. Where is the girl with that faith? The girl that obeyed and changed water and prayed for a dead fish. Where is she? And honestly, when he asked me this, it almost made me more mad in the moment. Because I was like, really? We're really comparing the fish to where my head is at, which is going through years and years of infertility and walking through 3 miscarriages. This was my response. I said to God, she lost 3 babies. She's physically and emotionally has suffered through endometriosis and just other things that have come up. She's been accused and outcasted. You showed up for a fish, but not my babies. And where were you when I was accused and mocked, and this was by family members, after losing my babies? I had people that literally did not believe me, and someone that literally accused me to the point of asking to see a dead body. Like, really cold-hearted, mean things. And I said, you left me alone to suffer, humiliated, and even shamed. And this is where God really brought this story, and just hit me with the words, are you not seeing the connection between your story and Mary and Martha's? Do you not think they were questioned and mocked? I'm sure this is what they heard. If Jesus cares for you so much, why didn't he come? I'm sure they were confused, hurt, angry, offended, maybe even feeling abandoned in their greatest need. But I was close by. I knew what was going to happen. I knew what I was going to do, and it was far greater for them than I had done for anyone else. In the past, Jesus had healed so many people, even without going to them, just speaking the word, and he had healed them. But he specifically chose them to not go, to not respond, but to wait, which seemed so harsh and so cold in the moment. In fact, he says this, it didn't look that way in the moment. I loved them all so much that it literally broke me to watch them suffer like that. So I wept with them. I knew I had to wait because waiting meant saving more lives than just Lazarus. Many people believed after that moment. He brought it to my attention in that moment that if I had not walked through infertility, if I had not lost family members from all the mean things that they said and just been treated the way I was and losing the babies, and if I had not been beat down so low, I would have never started this channel. I started this channel in one of my lowest moments, right before Paisley Grace's due date, our third baby that we lost. I just wanted to find one more soul that was like me, that had a story, somebody to connect with. I would not have started this channel if I hadn't lost her. I would not have started umbrellaofsupport.com, my website that is for resources for miscarriage, stillbirth, child loss, infertility, special needs, foster care, and adoption. I struggled to find resources, so then I was then inspired to make a central place where people could come and find answers they were looking for, find other people that were struggling just like them. If I hadn't walked through infertility and taking pregnancy tests over and over again, I wouldn't have felt inspired to create a trying to conceive planner and journal that I put into my Etsy shop, Paisley's Prints and More. All inspired, like cards in there, inspired for grieving parents and mothers of angel babies. And because I suffered so many hurts and so many losses and even injuries and illnesses, I have been given the gift of so many ways to feel empathy and love towards other people who may not have Jesus. I have Jesus to walk through the situation. And if someone out there doesn't have Jesus and is walking through this kind of pain, I just can't even imagine, because if I didn't have God in my life, there is no way I would have been able to walk through these 3 miscarriages, to walk through all the physical bad we went through. I guess I stopped to think that if God had answered one of my prayers in the past, if God had just given me a baby, if I had never lost a baby, if everything was just like it should have been in my mind, how many people would be suffering alone? And I know that's a really hard thought to think about, of why would God want me to suffer? He doesn't want us to suffer. He cries with us. What's amazing is, so after reading all of this and talking with God myself about this, I went to church later that morning, and we're going through this sermon series at my church called Ask Me Anything, where people can send in burning questions that they have, that they don't have answers to. And the topic of this message that day was, how could a loving God allow so much suffering? So one of my favorite points that our pastor made in this sermon was that Jesus steps into our suffering and he grieves with us. And I know from personal experience that that is just so true. I just felt God in my darkest moments, that he was there. So as hard as it may be for me to sit with the fact that God didn't answer those prayers for me in those moments. God hasn't given me my rainbow baby. God hasn't healed me in other ways, like physically. He hasn't taken my post-concussion syndrome away, which, if you didn't know that I had that, I had a head injury from years ago. I live with headaches and really bad symptoms on a daily basis. And those things are still there, but I have God with me, and He gives me the strength to get through those moments. And I believe I've been called to share my story with people like you who also may be walking through something similar, and you just need to hear that there was one other person out there like you, and you're not the only one. So my reminder to you is that you are not alone. I am walking through this with you, and God is right there with you. He is just waiting for you to call out to Him and call on Him, and He will be right there. Maybe He doesn't answer prayers in the way you want them, or the way you think they should be answered, or in the timing that you want them answered. But He's always listening, and He does answer. It's just maybe not always what we want to hear at the moment. And if you have never had that encounter with Jesus, I would just challenge you. If you have these questions like I had, God's not afraid of your questions. Throw out anything that you've got. He can take it, and just sit and be still and listen for His voice. And if you can't hear His voice, I remember being told something: if you can't hear God and you're walking through a test, always remember it's an open book test. Pull out your Bible. God's words are right there. If you don't have a Bible, download the Bible app, read, or have it read to you. But I would highly recommend pulling up this sermon series, and I'm actually going to link it in the description. I also would highly recommend checking out Happy Hoppy's channel if you haven't done that. I absolutely love their channel. So they actually started travel vlogs. They took a one-year trip around the world, and they actually started it because they were walking through infertility, and they wanted to do something to focus less on having a baby and just enjoy the time with each other before they settled down to actually try to grow their family. And they have since come home, and they planted roots, and they felt God call them to foster care. In one of her recent videos that Lisa made, she shared about her infertility struggles and part of her story.
I don't pretend to be God. His ways are so much higher than mine. I don't pretend to know, but maybe God has given me infertility so that our home can be open to taking care of children and giving them a safe place until they can safely go home with their parents.
And they fostered a sibling group of 3 for 2 years, and they recently were reunited with their family, and the whole story is just really amazing. So shout out to Lisa Hoppy. Definitely check out their channel. And I just like to point out that yes, I have resources here on Chasing Rainbows, but there are so many other people who are talking about infertility and talking about miscarriage and all these other things. So don't believe the lie that nobody's talking about these things. There are people out there talking about these things, and maybe you just haven't found where to go looking for these answers. And if you are in that spot, then definitely go to umbrellaofsupport.com to find resources for miscarriage, stillbirth, child loss, infertility, special needs, foster care, and adoption. I'm trying to put resources at your fingertips. Thank you for sticking with me till the end. If you did, please leave me a comment down below and just tell me. But if you do give this video a thumbs up, it really does tell YouTube to share this with more people who are just like you, which will help my channel grow. And I thank you in advance for doing so. And also hit the subscribe button and the bell so you can stick around for more content to come. And until next time, I look forward to chasing more rainbows with you. Bye-bye for now. See you later.
Thanks for watching today's video. Make sure to like, subscribe, hit the bell, and then share this video with a friend. Also, make sure to check out Rising Up, my family's channel. JLo, my daughter, and I are on a cross-country road trip from Ohio to California and back. We were gone for almost 2 months, and we went on so many amazing adventures that we want to take you on. Just driving with post-concussion syndrome alone is an adventure in itself, trust me. So you're also going to want to check out the links for my store and my website. You're going to find products for rainbow babies, miscarriage, infertility, and beyond. So you're also going to see links to other videos that I've made. But if you're subscribed and you hit the bell, you'll know when new videos post and you won't have to wait. So do that now, and I look forward to chasing more rainbows with you next time. Bye-bye.